Check out the live jam cams at bbc.co.uk/Stoke.
BBC Radio Stoke.
It's 29 minutes to 3. Oh, I'm so excited, and I know if Stuart George is listening, he will be too, because this man is someone who is a hero to both of us, and a hero to quite a few of you, judging by the text. But when you hear the name Jean Michel Jarre, I'm sure your instant thought is ding, 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 ding from Oxygen. Of course, it's everybody's. Of course it is. And you think about lasers and synthesizers. I got absolutely brought up on these albums. When I was little, my dad had Oxygen and Equinox. And I remember when I was little trying to convince, I mean, this shows how little I was that I actually thought this was an option, but trying my hardest to convince my parents to take me to a Jean Michel Jarre gig in Paris for my birthday when I was like about 10, as if that was going to happen. But 15 years later, my dream, to be honest, 22 years later, my dream has come true, because I could actually see him in concert, because he is touring the UK again. 150-date tour kicks off in October, and can we expect it to be what I wanted that Paris gig to be? Lasers and lights and fireworks and amazing music. Well, I did fulfil a lifelong ambition this morning when I spoke to him, and I asked him, first of all, what originally inspired him to move away from playing classical instruments like the piano to using synthesizers.
Actually, after having studied classical music and being in some rock bands in my teenage, I went into a music research the music research center in Paris, where we were suddenly I discovered electronic music and what it was, and it was the sole school almost in the world at that moment. Not a real school, but more a center where people were just trying to experiment new ways of doing music in a different way. I mean by that's for the first time I realized that you could the music was made of sounds and not only of notes and chords and harmony. And this simple idea really changed my life, and I suddenly realized that you could do music in a different way by being your own craftsman, by creating your own sounds, inventing your own instruments, and in a very organic way, and doing. I was very involved in painting at that time, and abstract painting, and I suddenly saw lots of correspondence, lots of similarities by mixing textures and frequencies like cooking. I mean, mixing ingredients and mixing colors, textures, spices, and in a very organic way.
And it sounds like a very visual way as well. You talk about relating your music to art, and of course you're known for your huge visual shows. When you compose music, do you write it to become a record that people can sit at home and play, or do you write it with the show and all the lasers and the pyrotechnics in mind?
No, not at all. When I'm composing music, I'm really I could have images or in my mind of visuals, but you know, the visual side of my work on performances, I mean, really came along afterwards. I mean, by having composed some electronic music, I suddenly realized how I could I perform this music on stage, because staying behind your laptop for 2 hours is not the most sexy thing in the world. So I started to think about how could I visualize my music, and to try to think of the visual soundtrack of my performance, and then it went like this. And actually it has been followed afterwards by lots of rock bands. I mean, if you see lots of rock bands since, you have lots of people are taking great care of the way they appear, the staging of their performance.
How do you feel about that? Because you have been completely copied. You were the originator, and the visuals are synonymous with your music. But as you say, everybody's recreating it. How do you feel about being copied in that way?
I mean, I'm quite. I feel quite honored, and you know, arts is always made of that. Being, we are all like sponges and taking everything from everybody. So that's, I have no problem with that. I'm doing the same, so it's not a problem.
Now, you have played in some incredible places. I mean, the Pyramids for one, and to some record-breaking audiences. You hold the record for the biggest live audience. What is it like performing to audiences like that?
You know, it's a first of all a big privilege and a big honor. And what you have to understand is exactly those projects have been requests or ideas coming also from the country or the cities. I mean, asking me, and I've been really very lucky to be asked for conceiving some concerts in very special places. And obviously, when you are outdoor, the scale of what you're doing is different, and then the scale of the audiences are also different. It's not the number of people who counts. I mean, 200 or 50,000 or 100,000 people. I mean, it's by the end of the day a little bit the same thing.
So what drives you to carry on? Because you could easily pack it in and concentrate on your art. You know, you've done pretty much everything. You've sold millions of records. You've performed to these record-breaking audiences. What makes you carry on?
You know, I truly think that if an artist has something to say, he has probably only one thing. If you step back and you see the work of Picasso or the Beatles or Stanley Kubrick, I mean, they're all saying, these artists are all saying the same thing. They all have a very specific world, and I think that you are obsessed as an artist to try to improve yourself all along your life and trying to create the ideal form of what you have in mind. And as long as you don't achieve this, I think you go on in a rather obsessive way. And I'm by far satisfied of what I've done so far. And this tour is something I had in mind for a long time. It's my first real world tour, going everywhere on the 5 continents. And it's something that I had in mind of putting the magic of my outdoor concerts in indoor venues to share with the audience the most popular songs of mine revisited in a total live situation with absolutely incredible instruments and amazing instruments on stage.
Are we going to get all the lasers and everything in this tour as well?
We have yes, I'm bringing a new laser harp. I mean, something quite extraordinary, and the lasers and lights and video that I really devised by myself as almost like a storyboard is something very quite spectacular. Even I would say even more spectacular in indoor situation, because you have a shelter. I mean, you don't depend on the rain and the wind, and you have the total darkness as well. So it's a rather ambitious project, and I'm really very excited to share this with the UK audience.
How excited are you if you're going to that gig now? That was Jean Michel Jarre, the pioneer of electro synth music. He's touring the UK this October. He's going to be in Birmingham on the 8th and Manchester on the 9th. But I'm sorry if I didn't ask a question that you wanted to hear. I'm not going to lie, I have never been so nervous doing an interview. Last night I was saying to the other half, I feel sick, I can't believe I'm going to speak to him, because honestly I started playing the piano when I was 8 or 9, and it was because of Jean Michel Jarre, and I did GCSE music and I did A-level music because of him. So to be able to speak to someone who's your hero, and thank goodness he didn't let me down. There would have been nothing worse than can you imagine if it'd been a complete misery? I would have gone home crying. Nothing worse than speaking to a genuine hero and them not being what you want them to be. But thank you for your text, because I've just had a text from someone going, please say thanks to him, I've been that fan for 30 years. And quite a few of you saying that you go into the gig. Nigel Warrington's going to the one in Manchester. Lee in Newcastle's been a couple of times. I'm going to have to get tickets, aren't I, now? Oh, I'm so excited. It's just fantastic. Can you believe this came out? 77, it still stands and is still so popular. And what an incredible guy. The interview I actually did, because I spoke to him earlier this morning, was a lot longer than that. But obviously I can't go on forever. But he was just saying at the end how excited he is to perform to British audiences and how pretty much we made his career. And he was just really humble. You know, you expect him to be really up himself if you wanted to be, but no, really humble guy, really nice guy. And if you go into one of his gigs, I'm dead jealous, but I think I might actually fork out and get some tickets. Right, we've got music from Creed.